Thanks for watching Blitz. I'm Brian Carr. Joining us now is Union County head coach Brian Allison. Coach, first of all, thank you so much for being on.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Happy to talk football and ready to turn the page into 2020. Talk first about just how your team has been working around the craziness that we call coronavirus and how you feel like your team's navigated through this time.
I think we've done a pretty good job. Our guys have done a really good job of being positive through all that. We followed the state, the Georgia High School Association's guidelines and our school's guidelines and stayed within those groups. And this, we're able to add our full group on Monday, and it's been really good, and our guys are really happy to be back together and see what happens.
Do you feel, in your opinion, being around the game for so long, has it really do you feel like it's put a lot of teams at any kind of disadvantage, having to have these kind of periods where you've had to kind of stop things and alter the way you do things?
Well, I'm sure it has put some teams at a little bit of a disadvantage. Those guys that weren't able to start when everyone else started in June, any of the teams that have had to quarantine for a week or 2 weeks or whatever they're having to quarantine, I'm sure it's putting them behind, and I'm sure that they're probably not happy with that situation. And I think, unfortunately, everybody's going to have this quarantine situation sooner or later, and just have to deal with it when that time comes.
Yeah, let's hope we avoid that, getting bit by that bug this year. But looking at what you have to replace from last season, of course, no denying that at the skill position level, you've got some retooling to do, I guess, so to speak, when you're replacing a guy like your son Pearson and Sawyer Drake, Kyle Morlock. Those were your go-to guys on offense. But how would you kind of assess the skill positions right now?
Well, I think that those guys are getting better, and obviously with all the experience we had there, it's going to take some time to get that experience back. We have some guys that are working very hard. We have some coaches that do a tremendous job in those positions, and we'll just kind of see what happens with it. But I feel like we're going to be competitive, and we're going to put a product on the field that's going to play hard, and hopefully we will be able to compete week in and week out.
Yeah, and you do have good thing too. You do have Jonah Daniel, who's probably going to get the majority of the totes this year. He kind of emerged last season and was a reliable back for you. But when you look at the quarterback position, I believe Logan Helcher sticks out as the guy who may be under center this year. What kind of quarterback is he in relation to the last three that you've had through the system, and Joseph Mancuso, Cole Wright, and Pearson Allison? You had three great dual-threat quarterbacks. Is Helcher one of those guys that might fit that mold too?
Helcher has a chance to do the same, but to be the same type quarterback as those guys. He has a strong arm, and he's not Pearson, and he's not Cole, and he doesn't have the arm or the size that Joe had, and he doesn't probably have the speed that Cole had. And, and Pearson was kind of a match of both of those. And, Logan's kind of his own guy. He has a very strong arm. It's accurate. He runs pretty well. And the biggest thing with him, just like it was when Pearson took over and when Cole took over, and even when Joe took over years ago, it's just going to take some experience and some game time to get him right and to get him in some rhythm, and I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see how he kind of emerges and like you said, kind of pens his own chapter, so to speak. But kind of switching sides here, looking at the defense, you lose a couple standouts in Mancuso, John Mancuso and Sloan Sutton, but really you have a lot of guys coming back on that side of the ball as well that stood out last year. Have you been pleased with what you're seeing out of the defense so far?
I have. I feel really good with what our defense has done in practice, and all of this is without shoulder pads or any real contact. So it may be a premature conversation, but so far what I've seen, I've liked. I feel very good at, very competitive at linebacker and very competitive in the secondary. And I think the one that'll have to come around is our defensive front. Just getting some experience there and just getting those parts to fit together.
Yeah, absolutely. Last question for you, Coach. If you could look in that crystal ball you got there in your office and give us what you kind of feel like when the dust settles, the expectations this year for your team.
Once again, I think it's the same expectations that we have year in and year out, and that's to be competitive week in and week out. Have some kids that are going to compete, play to play. And, we're building young men and trying to mold them for their future, mold them for a future of a job, a future of a family, and just trying to create good young men that are going to be productive citizens of this society.
Absolutely. That is definitely the primary goal for any team for sure. Well, Coach, appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Can't wait for football season to start.
Yeah, same here. Thanks, Brian.
Yes, sir. Thank you.